What is everybody? Welcome back to the Transparency. Holly Bobo, the mother of all lies, part two. We are going to get right into it. Okay. I wanted to reveal this in like real time. There's an echo. There should be an echo. Let's begin. Okay. This is your E911 line call detail. Take a look here. Right here, do you see the operator name? Do you see that name is McFadden? So McFadden was not working at the Decatur County 911 dispatch center that day. So this is not the Decatur County 911 dispatch. What you're seeing right here is somebody calling from into the old, what do they call it? They were saying, oh God, I called, it was Henderson. And so I hurry up and I hung up. So one of the versions that we've heard, and the version that we heard in trial, was that Holly Bobo's mother tried to call 911. And then she realized, oh my God, I'm calling 911 and I hung up because it was Henderson County. Okay. Well, I haven't come across anything like that. But what I did come across is, for proof, it's right here in the pudding. Somebody did call 911. And this call did originate at right here, 8:08 and 22 seconds, because that's when it started ringing. And like we know, all 911 calls record while it's like ringing. And so the ring time was 5 seconds before somebody said, how can I help you? And if you look up here, it's saying a total of 1 minute and 17 seconds. And if you look here, this operator, McFadden, first name redacted, pickup time. Do you guys see transferred to? Do you see all that transferring? Okay. Transferred to. Well, I want you to take a nice little look here. Right here, it is describing to us that here's a phone number, and I just redacted the first part of it. Last digits right here. And this then, when I look at, hold on, hang tight. Ooh, 911. What is your emergency? See that 8840? 8840. Oh, Lana, what is that? Clint Bobo asking if officers are close. Oh, wait, never mind. The 704 Sergeant Weber, he just pulled up. Okay. 810, Decatur County. Started off where, though? It started off where? Henderson. Lexington area, right? That would be equivalent to where Holly Bobo's mom works for school. That's that same over there, that county. That's that county. And what it did here is, oh my God, the phone number was a spoof number, and then it revealed what the real number was, and that belongs to none other than Clint Bobo. So, Lana, are you sitting here telling me that Clint Bobo tried to mask his call by using a spoof? Like, I'm going to make it seem like I'm calling from this number, but really I'm using my phone to do it. And this is hilarious because the ERP woman that testified said that this is what Zachary Adams did. Okay. No, right here, it is clear as day that AT&T had one number and he used this spoof number, but then it got revealed. Okay. Just sure. Whatever. And it was Clint Bobo, though, was calling just to say, oh, hey, I just want to let you guys know that Weber's here. Weber's here. The 704 badge. Okay. Well, why is this important? Let's talk about it. This is important because now I had to sort through a ton of shit to get to a report that I wanted. And this report was written by people that I think weren't trying to taint anything. Kathy Wise is the neighbor. Okay. She was interviewed, and this report was written by Chris Carpenter and let's see, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Yeah, Special Agent Chris Carpenter's interview. And this was supposedly at 3 p.m. that day, like on the day of the abduction. Now, here's what she said. I was sitting here and looked out the window and saw James Edward, her son, who lives adjacent to my property, loading up for work. He works construction. This was a little after 7 a.m. I just shut out the TV, and Ed calls me on his cell phone, and she provides the number and says to go outside and see if I could hear anything outside, because James Edward, said that he was on his porch getting ready to go, and he heard screams of, end quote, stop, coming from the Bobo house. He identified it as a female voice. James Edward drove by the house, and he said that he didn't see anything. He didn't see any vehicles or anything on the road. We don't really pay much attention to screams in that our house is opposite, because she mentions cats around her yard. But Ed was concerned because this was actually coming from the other house, like the Bobo side. So I went outside. Now, mind you, this is all typed up. This is typed up. I went outside, got in my truck, and headed up to the house. When I came up the drive, up the hill, I saw Clint walking toward the woods from the right side of the house. I didn't notice him carrying anything except a cell phone. He had on something like sweatpants and a t-shirt, maybe navy blue, when I saw him. I did not notice anything strange about him. I asked him if everything was okay, and he said that he didn't know where Holly was at. I said that, well, Ed, my son, he had heard screaming, and I came over after getting permission from Kim. He was about 10 feet to 15 feet from the woods when I arrived. He said that he saw someone walking into the woods with camouflage on, and later that Holly was wearing pink. He had a scared, upset voice about him. He made the statement that Holly was to have gone turkey hunting with her boyfriend this morning and then be in school. Wait, you want me to repeat that? Clint tells me that he made the statement that Holly was to have gone turkey hunting with her boyfriend this morning and then be in school. I asked him if her car was gone, and it was still there. That was when he saw the blood on the floor by her car. When I mentioned about hearing screams, I saw him get on the phone and say that Holly was missing. I don't know who he called. I think he made 2 to 3 calls. Yeah, Atlanta. So I think he made 2 or 3 calls. He told me that he was awakened by dogs barking. Dogs is plural written here. Barking, and came outside. There is a big golden lab that stays with Holly and Clint, and that dog was missing. I do not know if he has come back yet or not. I was only at the house 3 or 4 minutes before I started hearing sirens, which made me think that Karen had already called because they got there so fast. The Popo. The deputies, plural here. Remember, the first person to arrive was just by himself. So listen here. The deputies, plural, arrived, and Clint told them that he had seen someone in the woods with camo on, but he didn't say anything about Holly being taken in there with him. Oops. That just struck me as strange. I don't actually see the blood in the carport. When I arrived, Clint was frantic, looking like into the woods, talking to me, letting the dog out. He looked like he was in panic mode. I wasn't given any indication that he wasn't displaying pure emotion. So I didn't actually see the blood in the carport. When I arrived, Clint was frantic, looking into the woods, talking to me, letting the dog out. He looked like he was in panic mode. I wasn't given any indication that he wasn't displaying pure emotion. The next family that shows up is the grandparents. Oh, shit. Remember I told you guys about that 726 call? The grandma? That was about getting permission to be allowed to be turkey hunting? Yeah, about that. TBI and FBI got played by some real Southern folk. Let me continue here. The next family that showed up is grandparents, I think. There were lots of people that suddenly showed up to help look. I was there when Karen got there, and she jumped out of the vehicle yelling at Clint, saying that he should have protected her. She then turned on me, saying I should have done something earlier. I didn't pay any attention to her. I have seen Clint ride by with a weapon before on the four-wheeler, going to shoot or hunt. I talked to Ed James. She calls him Ed, okay? James Barnes. That's James Edward Barnes. I talked to Ed later and asked him some more details. And he said that he hadn't passed anything, like saw nothing parked on the road and saw nothing unusual. He is working construction in Perry County. He usually gets home late and drives a black F-150 pickup. While I was there, Clint was yelling into the woods, calling for Holly and the dog. And the dog. What? Calling for Holly and the dog. From observation and information, the following. Okay, so hang tight. So I was like, well, now I want to back up and now, okay. Now. Okay, so according to this report, this was during an interview at 3 p.m. on April 13th. Okay. And this was with Special Agent Chris Carpenter, who was interviewing, Kathy. Okay. Now. Oh, hold on one second. I missed a paragraph here. We don't really pay much attention to screams, that part. She says, I went outside, listened, and didn't hear anything. I came back in, thought about it, then decided to call Karen at school and talked to the bookkeeper. This is where we have to. I left this out on purpose for the end. I went outside, listened, and didn't hear anything. This is after her son calls and says, hey, I want to tell you about, what I heard. And can you go see if you hear anything? So she's saying, I went outside, I listened, and didn't hear anything. I came back in, thought about it, then decided to call Karen at school and talked to the bookkeeper, Marissa, and told them the situation to tell Karen to pass along to her. After about 2 to 3 minutes, the school secretary, who is not Marissa is the bookkeeper, the library person. The school secretary called me back and told me that Karen was on her way. And Kim, that's Karen's sister, wanted me to go on up to the house to check. Okay. So, in this typed up version that was typed up on May 23rd, 2011. It was from stuff that was, on that day at 3. Now I want you to hear this version. Kathy was interviewed on April 21st at her home, just like how the one on the day of. So this is like a week later. And the reason that they're doing this, though, is because Karen Bobo is adamant that she wants basically Kathy and James to take polygraphs. She says that they're involved, that they took her daughter. Okay. And that and in order for this agenda to be pushed, I came across a written, now not typed up, but a written report from one of the first responding Decatur County Sheriff's deputies, whose name is Inman. And I said, what the fuck is this? Okay. So I'm going to read this first. Yeah. So this is all written. This is written like with someone's handwriting. Just a good old written document here. See this shit? Written. Kathy Wise was at the scene when Ricky Inman, arrived. Kathy said that her son had heard a girl screaming for help at the Bobo residence. I asked her where he was at. She said that he had gone to a job in Perry County, but she did not know where at. Kathy said that her son, James, had called her on the phone and told her about it. I told her I needed to talk to him ASAP. She said she would call him. Kathy left. Later, I sent someone to find her. When she came back, she said that she could not get him on the phone, but had texted him a voicemail, left him a voicemail. I told her I needed his cell phone number. She gave me a number, but when I call it, she walked away. The number she gave was the wrong number. I told her I need him, or I was sending someone after him. She got him on her phone. He told me he was on a job in Perry. I told him I need to talk with him now and to get back to the scene. He said he would be right there. He showed up about 30 minutes later. It said that he was getting ready for work and heard a girl screaming at the Bobos. He said that she was screaming, stop, stop it, like someone was chasing her with a snake. I asked if she said anything else? He said no. I asked it, she ever scream for help? He said no. Just stop it. He said that when he left for work, he drove by the house but did not see anything but Dana's dump truck in the yard. And he calls his mother to check on her. After I came out of the log road, I came back to the Bobos and talked to the sheriff. I asked him where Sergeant Weber was. He said that he had sent him to start to ping the phone of Holly's. It is possible that Kathy overheard what the sheriff said because she was at the Bobo's residence at this time and she left about this time. You want to know what this is all about? This is all about, hey, we need to create a reason because we need probable cause. We need this. We need that. Let's just make up some fucking shit. All this shit is shit. There is no date on any of this shit when this was wrote by this lovely man who's so educated, mind you. He's calling a man an it. It's just all shit, right? So, but it's important because we're about to weed it all out. But I wanted to weed it all out in front of you guys. So I said, okay, well, this is complete trash. But this was literally put in with, you could tell the way that things were grouped together. It is like, this is what made us go this route. Okay. And so here we have this is a Sheriff County, Decatur County Sheriff guy. His name is Inman. Then there's Weber. And guess who the other person is? The other person is Jeremy Pratt. And Jeremy Pratt is, yeah. Jeremy Pratt gets there, he says. And he goes over to the logging road and all that shit. He says that he gets there. It's like Weber got there first. And then him and Inman kind of, they're arriving more or less at the same time. But Jeremy Pratt is a very good friend of the Bobo family. In fact, Jeremy's mom was in the nursing program with Holly Bobo. They live on the same road as Terry Britt. And so Jeremy Pratt, he goes to the same church and all that shit. Younger sheriff deputy. And his mom went to school. She wasn't, like when someone decides, I want to go back and be a nurse, like that's what she did. So the mom is actually the one that found Holly Bobo's cell phone, or she claims that she did. It's like, wait, excuse me? Yeah. April 24th, 2011, Holly Bobo's cell phone is found by Susan Pratt. Susan Pratt went to school with Holly Bobo for the nursing program. And yeah, she told the FBI, though, when she found this phone, she told the FBI that she did not think that it was Holly's. When she takes the stand, 6 years later, during Zachary's, during his case, during his trial, she lies on the stand and she's like, I don't remember telling that to the FBI. So let me get this straight. She finds Susan Pratt related to Jeremy Pratt, finds the cell phone of Holly Bobo, and she's claiming, yeah, I actually used it right before I used Holly's cell phone before because of like being at school or whatnot. And I'm just like, let's talk about who found that SIM card as well. But we're going to get into all of this, but just so you guys can kind of see how this is all Decatur County Sheriff's peeps. And it's all people that are really good friends of the family that basically they get set up in a way. They're finding something, but they're telling the FBI, like, I don't think that's Holly's. But then when it comes to down to the trial, when Jennifer Nichols wants to put this all together, she has them all testifying a different way. And some of them didn't need help to testify a different way. They were all in on being total fucking corrupt pieces of shit. Trust me. That's just who they are. So we're going to go and now I want you guys to hear this though. Okay. So on the 21st, so I told you guys on the 13th, Kathy was interviewed. Now, on the 21st, Kathy was interviewed again. And this time it's Special Agent Jeff Jackson and with the TBI and Special Agent Joe Walker, TBI. Wise said on the morning of April 13th, 2011, that she was sitting in her home looking out the front window as she does every morning. Wise said every morning her son Ed comes down and says hello to her. Wise said Ed was coming down to get some oil for the job he was going to go do for the day. Wise said Ed, her son, kept his tools in the shed attached to her home. Wise said that when she stopped out to greet Ed, Ed said that he had heard screaming over toward the Bobo residence. And I say to myself, bullshit. I want to talk to Kathy. Because now what they're basically saying is that in this interview, Kathy is now saying that Ed told me, well, in person, when I saw him and greeted him. Okay. They're trying to make it seem like that she's saying that now, hey, Ed said, oh, I had saw him. And he said, I saw him in person. I greeted him and said hi. And Ed asked her to, Kathy said, Ed said, asked her to see if she had heard anything, but Wise said that she didn't hear anything, nothing from that direction. Wise said Ed told her in quotes, I heard screaming over there. I'm going by to see what's going on. Wise told her he heard don't and stop it. Wise said Ed told her it sounded frantic. Now, I've been searching because all I want to see is where is Kathy Wise's written statements? She has to have her written statement. Okay, that's what you're really big on, is when you actually take somebody's written statement down and it makes it so that somebody can't just type up a report and say, this is what the fuck you said. Okay, here's my written statement. I want to see I want a photocopy of it. And like this way you can't just go and write up whatever you want. Now, Wise said that Ed left and she decided to call the school and let Karen Bobo know something was going on for there. And I said, oh, I know why this is changing now, because your timeline doesn't fit. Remember what I was saying before, guys? I said, you guys, the school can't be notified of something at 7:46 if she doesn't know about it until 7:47 to then talk to her son and then call. So that has to leave. That has to fall off. But then I said something else doesn't sit right with me. And it was when I did more digging that I found that the FBI and the TBI told her son, Ed James, in an interview, and I have it right here. They said, hey, you didn't call your mom at 7:47. You called her at 8:58 because James has his phone. He's like looking at it. He's like, that's an hour off. Like it's showing this, but this can't be right, because I remember back then it would only show unless you actually went to your log. But once your log got so filled up, then it pushes out your later ones of your phones. Yeah, we have to remember we're working with 2011 phones here. And so whatever you just have at that time by the time like April 18th would have rolled around, April 19th, 20th, if all James is looking at is his cell phone to see, okay, and the FBI and the TBI are sitting there and they're telling him, no, you call that phone call's at 8:58. And it's like, he's like, they're missing phone calls then. This isn't right. So, ta-da. When I saw the date of this interview, I said, oh, wait a second. This is literally right after the FBI and the TBI told James Barnes that he doesn't have any phone calls from his mom any earlier than 8:58. So your mom couldn't have called you and blah, 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 blah. trying to fuck with them. Well, it's like, no, so I did that for them. And I will show you guys. Like, these people are either very, very inept, okay, or it's half designed, half not designed. Let's see. Oh, yeah, here. There you go. Barnes. First call from Mama Bear. Well, he calls his mom at 7:47. 7:47. And the FBI and the TBI said that call to your mom was at 8:58. No. The first call was at 7:47. So there's that. Also, so we'll go back to now reading this. Okay. Y said when Ed left, she decided to call the school and let Karen Bobo know something was going on over there. Y said that she started to not get involved because of their ongoing problems, but she decided to call anyway. Y said she determined that she would call and let Karen deal with it. Y said she told the secretary that there was a problem over at the Bobo residence. Y said she hung up and the school called her right back and told her to go over to the Bobo's residence. And I'm like, oh my God, now we're going to even switch it up some more over here, you pieces of shit. She's clear as day told you guys on day one, she called the librarian, and that is Marsha Phillips. Marsha Phillips, that's not who, the person that called her back, okay, that was, she never called the secretary. When she got the phone call back right away, guess who it was? Well, Kim Duncan, Holly Bobo's sister, telling her to call the police and go over there. Now, Kathy Wise did not testify in this trial. Kathy Wise could be sitting out there listening to this thinking, oh my God, none of this shit is what I said. You know? So here it is now that Wise said that she told them no, she wouldn't go over there because she was not supposed to be there. Wise said that she told Kim, Wise said she was told Kim, Karen's sister, told her to go on over there. Karen was on the way. Wise said she decided to go over to the Bobo house as was requested after being said, like, hey, Kim Duncan, Karen's sister, is saying go over there. Okay? Wise said when she arrived at the Bobo residence, she observed Clint in the right back corner of the yard. Wise said Clint came walking toward her car and told her his sister was gone. Wise said Clint appeared to be scared to death. Wise said she asked him if he had checked in the house, and he said no. He saw a man walking into the woods. Wise said again, she asked him if he had checked in the house, and Clint said they were going turkey hunting. Wise said Clint then told her there was blood. Wise said almost immediately they heard sirens and knew law enforcement was on the way. Wise said Karen showed up in a few minutes, and she immediately ran up to Clint and got in his face and screamed at Clint that he should have been protecting his sister. Wise said that Clint then turned to her and screamed at her, asking her where her son and his friend were. You guys, this is absolutely fucking crazy. Wise said Ed James had a job in Perry County that morning, and that was where he was headed when he left home. Wise said the job was a subcontracting job. Wise said that he was supposed to be building a porch and a roof over it. Wise said Ed got the job through Chris at Buck's Lumberyard. and all of it checks out. Why said Ed, Kathy, they call her Kathy Bates in here. Her name is Cassie. Okay, these people write up a report and are calling this woman whose name is Cassie, Kathy. Okay, it's unbelievable. Cassie, but they call her Kathy Bates, and her child were in the truck together. Y said they were carrying the child to Perry County. Who writes these reports? How do these people have jobs with TBI and FBI? I mean, this is crazy to me. Carrying the child. They were in a vehicle. How would you ever say that that's carrying a child? They're driving. Anyways, they're driving the kid to they're calling her Kathy, Cassie's grandmother's, for her to keep the child while they did the job. Well, I said Ed and Kathy have been split up for 5 or 6 years, but got back together recently. Wise was shown a picture of a sex offender from Perry. So again, this is all on this kick of, hey, everybody's statements from the 13th is what matters. Because everything what I've noticed after that is when it's being written up, if you interviewed somebody on the 13th and it was later, or you interviewed somebody on the 14th or the 15th, these reports aren't getting written up right away. And then they're all being like, you're then taking like your preconceived notions of whatever Karen's telling you in the mix of how you're typing this up. Well, we'll go on with this crazy shit here. Wise was shown a picture of a sex offender from Perry County that Ed had reportedly been associated with. Guess who gave that information? So let me back up. Okay. On the day that this happens, according to this guy, this sergeant, or this deputy dude, Inman, he says that as soon as he gets to talk to Ed Barnes on the phone, he's there within 30 minutes. Okay, 30 minutes. The reports try to claim that Brent Booth was on scene by 9:15 or contacted between 9:15 and 9:30. Just because you're contacting somebody at 9:15 or 9:30 does not mean that means that person's on scene then. So it's like, here, Brent Booth, show me your work. Show me when you actually were on scene. And because it matters. So Kathy and her son gave them full consent to search the whole property. Okay. So on the day that this happens, also, the day that this happens, here you can search my whole property. Then Barnes gets a random text message from his ex-wife, Jamie Gage, at 11:42 a.m. I'm sorry. She texts him right after 11:42 a.m. And the reason that Jamie Gage texts her ex-man is because Tina Cruz. Now, who's Tina Cruz? Well, Tina Cruz is supposedly the person that Clint Bobo was on the line with all morning driving, remember, to school? She works at Scotts Hill. So Tina Cruz hits up Jamie Gage, who's Barnes's ex. Yeah. In a text message, in texting form, starts blowing her up texting. And Jamie looks at it and it was like, what the hell is this? And what it comes to be is Jamie tells the FBI that Tina Cruz Okay. Day of the disappearance. Karen and teachers around noon. Now, mind you, she's in New York, so it was actually like 11 because it's Central Time for Tennessee. She's like, I kept getting text messages from Tina Cruz. She's a school teacher at Scotts Hill Elementary School in Tennessee. So I thought you can't have your phones with you, right? She wrote a text to Jamie Gage and said, now this is the day of the abduction. Call me right away. Call me right away. It's an emergency. Jamie says, I called Tina. She said H is missing. Told me James heard her scream. Kathy called school to tell Karen that someone or something is going on at her house. So then I said, oh my God, these people are totally trying to push this whole narrative because that, hey, Kathy was the one that called the school. Because right now, wait till you see what I'm about to show you guys in like 10 minutes. It's going to blow everybody's mind. So this girl, Jamie, is receiving, she's like, Tina told me that Karen then called home and learned that Clint found blood. What? Wait, what? That Clint found blood? Well, why did at 7:59 in the morning, who called saying someone drugged somebody into the Karen Bobo called and said that her daughter was being drugged into the woods by a man with, camo. So here we go, though. Tina told me, meaning Jamie, that Karen called home, learned that Clint found blood. Tina knew James had heard a scream. Tina asked me, okay, to, seek out and call James and find out what I can. Tina believed that something very bad, something like a crime happened because of the blood. I then sent James a text, and here it is in quotes. In quotes, what is going on? ? They're saying Holly's missing, period. And then the FBI guy says that this is at 12:30 on the day of the disappearance via the text message. Like we have the phone. Reply from James. Heard her scream. Thought Clint was scaring her with a snake. Drove by. Everything looked normal. I went back home and I said, thank you, God. There it is. Cha-ching, bada bing. I always said that Barnes went over to that house twice. Basically, he went over to the house once, but when he actually went the first time that he went over, he goes, and that's when he pulled in and just like turned off the car and shut it off and was there for like a minute or two. Then drives back over to his house. Okay. Then that's when he walked over and got his the oil for the truck and blah, blah, blah. And that's when he's grabbing then Cassie, the kid's getting put in the car. And then they drove just past the place. When they left, they just didn't go. What these people tried to do is they tried to merge two stories into one. So let me explain this. When James Barnes testified, I said, aha. I said, when he's saying, yeah, I went over there, turned off the car, like meaning his truck, turned it off and sat there for like 2 or 3 minutes. Then I turned it back on. Okay. And he had a loud 1987 vehicle. Well, guess what Karen Bobo said that she heard that morning? She heard a truck. She heard a loud engine truck when she let Rascal out. Mm-hmm. Meaning what? That means the scream that he heard, okay, was Karen was there. Okay. Now, so here we go. Now we go back to this. So this is the day of, when you're talking about text messages at 12:30 between you and your ex, and this is what James Barnes says in a text. Drove by, everything looked normal. I went back home. That means he didn't continue to go on his way like he was driving to work. I went back home. I drove over. Then when he just left with Cassie to leave, I turned this way to just go by it instead of driving the other way. Okay. And they were trying to merge that story. So then the girlfriend writes, though, you could have been a hero to him, in a text message. James then replies, the FBI's here. I'll tell you all about it later. I got to go. Like, the FBI's here. Later that night, around 7 p.m., and I looked at his phone records. It says, later that night around 7 p.m., James says, been questioned all afternoon by TBI. I'm number one suspect. Jamie writes, I seriously don't think you did it. James writes back, tell that to the marshals who held me for 3 hours this afternoon. Okay. So I went and looked at, let me just tell you what's awesome about this. This person that went to interview Suge Tits in New York, it wasn't these people from Tennessee. It was actually a New York agent. Give it up for a special agent, Brent Isaacson. This is like right here. He has no reason to lie when he went and actually sat down with Jamie Gage. Okay. And interviewed her. And literally in quotes wrote up pages, okay, of amazing type notes that is in quotes of who's saying what and when and where, okay? Now, ready for this part? Karen called me last Wednesday, because remember, this interview was on 4/25. Karen called me last Wednesday, I think it was 4/20, at like 9:30 a.m. She wanted me to get a hold of James, to try to be his friend, even to be his girlfriend again, to get his trust. This is sick. Wednesday at noon, text message, me, in quotes. I am so close to coming home and finding her myself. Why haven't they found her yet? ? To James. James responds, oh, so you don't care about somebody, just not the man you married. Oh, so you do care about somebody, just not the man you married. Then Wednesday on 4/20, Karen's called since with questions. I told her 5 to 6 to 5 to 8. He has meaning like I've told her so many times, like 5 to 6, 5 to 8 times, that he has 2 camo shirts that I knew of. He had hats and jackets that were camo. He walks hunched over because of a bad back. He doesn't have a limp though. On Saturday, 4/23 at 1:03 p.m., Karen called something about, now this gets interesting because I can't read it all, but Eason, Eason, and there's a name that comes up. She called and said, Sub called her saying TBI called wanting to get my contact info. Karen, Mr. Wilkinson called me back and he has your number. When you have time, please call them back if they call while you're at the party. Thanks, and wish your grandpa many more birthdays. Now, when they asked her what she thought happened, I said, oh my motherfucking God. I said, exactly. Here you go. I got to read it verbatim. All right. Dana and Karen are well known. My first thought was someone hurt H as payback for a bad business deal. When I think of Dana, the best way I can describe him is a crooked contractor type. It had new H had a new Mustang, special wheels from her grandma. Some oil dumping generated a $3,000 fine against Dana in like 2009. Karen recently asked Jamie if James, Kathy, and Frank Wise would hurt Holly to make Karen and Dana move. What? Yeah. Now, something that emerged in Clint Bobo's story, and I was like, where did he get this from? Where did he get this whole black hair thing from? Well, right here. Jamie was describing to this special agent FBI guy the property and who lived where on it. Okay. And she was like, this is the White House, this is the Blue House, this is James, this is Kathy, this is the Bobos. And she's like, over here, though, there's a trailer. She just put trailer friend. And in it, she says, there is a college-aged kid that lives in she named it as like trailer friend above over here. He's tall, skinny, black hair. I said, you got to be shitting me. All this shit was because I was like, what's the date of that? When did Clint Bobo start, adding to his story? Oh, there. Going back over here to Kathy. So on the day of the abduction, the alleged abduction day. I do not say that that's the abduction day. So the alleged day. TBI updates their incident summary report. Okay. And they make a note on 4/13/2011 at 23:31 hours, which is 11:31 p.m. And it says, Natalie Bobo, that's the victim's, Holly Bobo's cousin, stated that she and the victim were walking in front of James Barnes's house on the 1st or 2nd of April of 2011. That's exactly right. This story has totally morphed into the fact that it was Holly and Natalie going for that walk on the Friday before she was abducted on that Wednesday. That's not true. Okay. It was the first Friday of it was the Friday before that. And how, because the phone records also prove that. If somebody would just fucking looked. But here, this is what people do. Now, I went and I looked up Natalie's phone records because I wanted to see when Natalie and how did Natalie find out about any of this, right? Well, there's an emerging new timeline because I'm all about timeline. So this is like me. What was the big bomb if I missed it? Brad, you're missing big bombs left and right. So Natalie, the only call or text that Natalie could have possibly received, because the one before this was in the middle of the night. She was texting with, I think, one of like the guys she was talking to at like 2:00 in the morning. But at 9 a.m., there's a call or a text that comes in, and then she then makes an outgoing. Like, this is like how she found out. And now the question is you'd have to ask Natalie who she was talking to. I think I pretty much have that down, but all that matters is just a time frame here. Okay. So at 11:31 p.m., they enter this in, and this is what it says. They want to enter into the update. This is the TBI incident summary. Natalie Bobo, victim Holly Bobo's cousin, stated she and the victim were walking in front of James Barnes's house on the 1st or 2nd of April 2011 and noticed two male witnesses watching them from the front of Barnes's house. FBI Special Agent Viveros and TBI Special Agent Brent Booth interviewed Barnes at his residence at 14:30 hours, which is 2:30, on Wednesday, the 13th. So this is really important. So follow this timeline. So they interviewed Barnes at 2:30, according to this incident summary. Next, and learned the other male, the other white male was Keith Clark. Now, in order for you to find out who this person is, or that Natalie's even mentioning this, you would have had to talk to Natalie before 2:30. And then I said, no, you wouldn't. You can just get all your information from fucking Karen, because Karen's just calling everything out. Okay. And because show me where Natalie was interviewed before, what time you have Natalie being interviewed on the 13th. And I would love to see it. So, hey, we know this guy. So what we did here is that we took Barnes, and Barnes stated he was loading up his pickup truck with tools between 7:40 and 8:10. And I'm like, what? Where is this now emerging from? 7:40 to 8:10, loading up his pickup truck. This is now all of a sudden what? On the day of the abduction, how does this get put in the updates at 11:30 at night, talking about where are you getting this whole 7:30 to 8:10? Why are you moving this timeline? Why are you doing this? They're doing it this early. And it's clear as day who's doing it. When he heard the screams from the direction of Holly Bobo's house, the screams were like those of screams being frightened by something. Barnes walked toward Holly's house, but saw nothing. Barnes's wife came outside with the child and got in the pickup with Barnes to go to work. Barnes does not usually drive by Holly's house, but did on this occasion, but saw nothing. They're leaving out that totally other portion of the part of the, and he testified to it, that how he went over there. Anyways, but hey, we have to move this timeline. Why? Well, because otherwise the Bobo's stories make absolutely no sense. If we don't move this timeline, Karen Bobo and Clint Bobo, they already blew up their spot. So the only way that their spot doesn't get blown is if this gets kicked further. Okay? Because you can't have Holly screaming, right? You can't have the neighbor be hearing that. I don't know when Karen's still there. I don't know, like after Holly Bobo supposedly is sending out a text message at 7:42, which we're going to totally get into all of that because me and Bella did probably 24 hours worth of research on the type of phones that not just Holly had, but the whole entire family had and these friends of theirs had because it mattered back then. And it mattered why if you're texting back then and you had certain types of phones, if somebody tried to call you, it would automatically kick you to voicemail automatically. And it's called like it's called shunting. That's what happened back then. And that's not being taken into account by anyone anywhere in anything that they've ever done in this case. There's so much about the technology that was never taken into account when they want to be like, yeah, let's talk about these cell towers. Fuck those cell towers in 2011. They mean absolutely nothing, especially if you're not going to compare the patterns of Holly Bobo's movements in the weeks and months before that day. You can't just say this is what happened on that day and this is what's normal and this is what's not normal. Get out of here. But that's why they didn't talk about anything other than just, let's talk about from 7, why aren't we talking about the day before? Why don't we talk about Clint, where Clint's at, where the mom is, where the dad is? They don't want to talk about anybody. They don't want to talk about anything to do with Holly Bobo up until just that day. It's crazy. That's not what you do. I don't know where these people got their investigative, I have no idea how they had these jobs. So we go back to this and it says that, ready? They put this in a written document. I cannot believe this. This is what they say. Barnes's wife called Holly's mother at work. Excuse me? You guys, it is right there, black and white. Read it. It says, Barnes's wife called Holly's mother at work. Excuse me? Why? Is there something not showing up on the cell records of Kathy Wise? I don't know why you're writing the fact that Barnes's wife called Holly's mother at work and advised of the situation. One of Holly's relatives that was contacted by Barnes's wife called the sheriff's office at 7:50. And this was the first report. The second call to the sheriff's office was at 8:08. This is absolutely insanity. Insane. This is absolutely insane. And this needs to be spread far and absolutely wide. Toss it out. I mean, this is crazy. Do you understand that the TBI wrote up on the day of the abduction at 11:30 at night and said that one of Holly's relatives that was contacted by Barnes's wife called the sheriff's office. They're not attributing the 7:59 call to Karen Bobo. When the e-logs right here, what are you doing? It's right here. This is why they can't call these people to the stand for anything. Here. It's right here. The e-logs. 7:59. Right before it would switch over. Somebody knew that. Karen Bobo advised someone came in camo, dragged her daughter off into the woods behind their home. Her brother heard her screaming. Her brother heard her screaming. No vehicle information. 7:59. Karen Bobo. Why is the TBI saying that at 7:59? That a relative, so one of Holly's relatives that was contacted by Barnes's wife, called the sheriff's office at 7:59, and this was the first report. You got to be kidding me. No, this was all Karen Bobo, and I want to know why the Decatur County Sheriff's Department, okay, I'm going to put all your shit out there, guys. TBI, are you getting your incident summary reports? Because this is how lazy they were. It would just be like, I'm typing up the front of my report, and then whoever provided me with whatever, even if I wasn't there or not, it's like, this is what's making up this report. It's crazy. Karen Bobo called at 7:59 and called from Terry Brumley's phone. Are you trying to say that Terry Brumley was actually the 911 caller, and on that recorded call it's not? When at 7:59, what's going on? Who called from what? She called from the Scotts Hill Elementary School line. We have that. And I said, wait a second, I don't think it's from the Scotts. I said, no, that's from Terry Brumley's line. At 7:59, Terry Brumley's phone number is the 911 call. And then you want to know what Clint says? Well, my mom and Terry, they drive to work together. Holy shit. Why did Karen Bobo have to drive back with Terry Brumley that morning? All of this shit happened way before 7:53, and Clint saying, yeah, when I was on the phone, I called my mom. She called me back then, and she's over. I'm like saying it's Drew going out into like walking and blah, blah. Do you understand that none of that stuff was related to Kathy? In fact, Kathy was like, I have no idea what he's talking about. He never said that there was no guy taking anybody into the woods. Okay. I was like, hey, Clint, what's going on up here? I don't know, man. Holly's missing. What do you mean Holly's missing? He didn't have a gun with him. He had his cell phone, and then he makes 2 to 3 phone calls. And remember I told you guys it was, hey, mom, call me ASAP. He calls his mom and then writes, call ASAP, because I said, their plans just got fucked up. Kathy Wise is on property. Shit, you better call, like, shit. I knew it. I knew when I saw the text said, call ASAP, there was a problem. And the problem wasn't Holly's missing. The problem is Kathy Wise is on fucking property. It's all going to come down. Now, Clint testified that he went to bed at 11 p.m. the night before the abduction. Well, all one would have to do is look at Clint Bobo's cell phone records. He was texting all underage girls, 15 and 16 years old, calling them, texting with other people as well. Tina Cruz's son is Clint Bobo's best friend. Wait, Lana, say that again. Yeah, ready for this? Tina Cruz has a son. His name is Corey Malam. I don't know if that's how he says it, but it's Milan or AM. Malam. Anyways, do you know that immediately after the quote unquote time frame of this abduction, if you were to look at Clint Bobo's cell phone records, I mean, they talk nonstop, texting and calling. Okay. So Corey is Tina's son. Do you know that Clint Bobo and Corey don't text or call ever again on the cell records? Now that's pretty wild shit right there. Say that again, Lana? Yeah. Let's go back over here. Okay. Kathy's hilarious, dude. I can't wait. I'm going to interview Kathy. I want to interview Lori. I want to interview Lori and the her husband. They nailed it. They were right. So when asked what she thought about Bobo's disappearance, so this is like a week later after 11, it's a week after the disappearance. So it was, yeah. She says, Kathy Wise tells investigators, according to investigators, that, well, Bobo was 20 years old and probably wanted her own life. Wise said Karen is cruel and an attention getter. That's what I've been saying. Don't know about the cruel thing, but I know definitely an attention getter. Wise said that Bobo just left Clint there to take the brunt of her meanness. Wise said that she had lived there for about 3 years. Wise said she had to have some surgery and she had moved back in with her husband for a while. Wise said that when Ed got married, she had moved back to the property. Wise said that she herself might be a bitch, but she believes Bobo may have voluntarily left. Wise said Karen is very tough on the kids and her husband. Wise said that she did custodial work at school where Karen taught school. Wise said that she made sure to mop Karen's classroom every night so that she could not make it hard on her at her job. Wise said that her husband is Frank Wise. So basically, she was like the janitor at the high school. Not the high school, just the school district, whatever. And if I don't have everything perfect for Karen, I'm going to lose my job. Wise said, Wise said it was her opinion that Bobo had gone to be a model or gone to live with her cousin that is a country music star. Wise said she was more familiar with Clint. Wise said that she used to see him every day at the gym when he was in high school. So that was back a while ago, though. Wise said that he would come in and work out. Wise described Clint as a pretty normal kid. Wise said he was very timid. Wise said when Clint was in the gym, his father and or mother would call every 15 minutes the whole time he was there. Wise said that she only talked to the victim Bobo twice while she was in school. Wise said they were both times she saw her on the computer and just said hi. Wise said that when Clint approached her that morning, he had a cell phone in his hand, but she did not notice a gun in his hand. Now we know why he had to say that when in his story, then it changes like, oh, when I saw her roll up, I put my gun away because I thought it startled her. Dude, somebody was just feeding them every frickin' report. And then they were changing their stories based on being fed information from the leaks in this investigation, who are the Decatur County Sheriff's Department people. They were just feeding the Bobos every single thing that was happening through every single interview. It is, you plot every interview of everybody, and then you see how things go. Wise said she remembered when the deputy gave him the statement form to write out his statement, he had placed his phone on the car to write out the statement. And it's like, well, what phone are we talking about here? Because we're also going to talk about Clint Bobo, what he was doing when he said he was supposedly being polygraphed. I've never seen somebody's phone be able to be operatable when you're being polygraphed. Have you guys? So either these aren't text messages or somebody else is using people's phones. Something is going on. But if you're being interrogated or you're being questioned, especially in the lengths of a polygraph, you're not going to be using your phone. And the time frame that they said that Clint was being polygraphed, his phone is, and it's all in the pudding. Wise said she did not hear the dogs at her house barking when Ed reported hearing the screams from the Bobo residents. Wise said as she remembered it, this was a very quiet and still morning. Wise said she and Ed were worried whoever did this would find out that they were the ones that got law enforcement involved so quickly and come for them. And that's exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened. It's because they were the ones that could burn down the Bobo story. Because nothing that they said is accurate. And the people that know that, they tried to bury it. That's why you got people like this. Ricky Inman, seriously writing up some bullshit to say that, yeah, Kathy heard we were pinging, and that's when she left, and she probably basically took the phone and started driving it. He's so full of shit, but he had to say something like this and write this up because Karen Bobo needed something in order to get these dipshits to, hey, you need to go for, Kathy and Ed Barnes. Like, they're the ones, they took Holly. They were flying drones over their property. We put a phone call into the people that were flying drones out of, it was like this company, and they wanted videos and still images of their property. How about this? Let's go back to the drawing board. So how did this go down? Allegedly, supposedly again? What time did this happen? Oh, I think he's getting out. Yeah, right here. To see this shit just makes me sick. After I came out of the log road, I came back to the Bobos and talked to the sheriff. I asked him where Sergeant Weber was. He said that he had sent him to start to do the pings for the phones. Well, guess what I'm putting together right now? I'm putting together a ridiculous timeline to show that this is 1,000% cannot be possible based on what we know, what time that he went and got sent all that stuff, because we have the logs. I just had to plot it all. He said it is possible that when I was talking to the sheriff, okay, that Kathy overheard what the sheriff said because she was at the Bobo's residence at this time and she left about this time. And I said, oh, really? Well, let's go back to what you originally said over here, which was, I told her that I needed to talk to him ASAP, meaning her son. She said she would call him. Kathy left. Later, I sent someone to find her. When she came back, she said that she could not get him on the phone, but had text him a voicemail. I told her I needed his cell phone number now. She gave me a number, but when I called it, she walked away. The number she gave was the wrong number. I told her I needed him, or I'm sending someone right now for him. She got him on the phone with her. He told me he was at a job site in Perry. I told him I need to talk to him now and to get there. He said, I'll be right there. He showed up about 30 minutes later. Well, guess what time? Like, we know what time these phone calls are. So he came 30 minutes after she got him on the phone. Now, I got the interview of the guy who he was working with on the property. Okay. And I said, let's see what he had to say, because he's going to know what time they had to leave. And then I got Cassie's interview, and I was like, holy shit. I said, yepers. That would be she calls him at 11:08 a.m. Okay, but there's other calls that are like back and forth. So you have the 7:47 call, then you have an 8:38 call for 4 minutes and 9 seconds. Okay, and so you can decide for yourself, what do you think at 8:38? I'm sorry. Barnes calls his mom at 7:47. Then she calls him at 8:38. And so when you take everything that's happening here, then at 8:54, there's a text message. 8:55, there's a text message. 8:55, there's another text message. And then 8:57, it's somebody that's not the mom. And then 8:58, he makes a call to his mom for 52 seconds at 8:58. And then She calls him at 9:41. And then the next time you have an opportunity to have any type of, then right before, I know that all of this had to have gone down before the New York call happened, which was at 11:07. Because at 11:07, when the New York girlfriend, the old girlfriend, Jamie Gage, that was at 11:07. He texted her back, and she read it off shows it to the cop, and he said that he was with the TBI people and had already done that for he was with them for 3 hours. And so I was looking, and I was like, okay, well, if you subtract that extra hour because they're Eastern Standard, and so it would be noon when you see on Tennessee at 11:07 a.m. It's actually 12:07 for us in Eastern Standard. And I'm like, this shows that he did respond right back. So you just have to weed through all the bullshit. I don't want you to type up a report. If I have somebody typing up their own shit, like here, James Barnes types up his own shit. My name is James Barnes. I have provided a written statement regarding what I saw, did, or heard on the day Holly went missing. This is on 4/21/2011. I heard the scream around 7:45 to 7:50. They got him to write that because they told him that the call with his mother wasn't until 8:57. And I'm like, that's some fucked up shit. And then what happens during the trial that you have to give a little bit of, like when Jennifer Thompson was questioning James on the stand, she's like, what time did you hear that at? He's like, well, I started getting ready for work at, 7:15. And she's like, well, could you have heard it then? And he's like, yeah, I mean, and that's when it was earlier. And that matches with the guy with the lake, with the canoe, when he heard the stuff and saw the white truck speeding away. Who owns a white truck? Well, Drew owned a white truck. What the guy saw at 7:30 speeding away. That's interesting. Why isn't Drew being interviewed? Where are any interviews with Drew? Because who said what? Karen said, Drew's been turkey hunting with his dad, god damn it. Talk about straight up protection of Drew. It's like you almost wonder if Karen was letting Drew stick her. All right, on that note, guys, we'll see you on the flip side. Lots more coming. But you would think that the first person you would talk to would be Holly Bobo's boyfriend at the time. But hey, that didn't happen. And all the inconsistencies with their phone records. But hey, that didn't happen. We'll be back. We got lots more receipts.